These are the faces of the future. Today's youth finds a world of change around them. It includes drugs, gangs, questions about AIDS and safe sex. Sometimes it involves the struggle of just getting a good education. The problems are many, but this group feels that there are some answers. Today, some straight talk from Future Generation in Austin Faith Dialogue. Austin Faith Dialogue, a public affairs series at the crossroads of religion and life. Austin Faith Dialogue highlights the interaction of the religious community with the social and cultural issues in the area in and around the capital city. Austin Faith Dialogue is brought to you by Austin Metropolitan Ministries in cooperation with KTBC TV. Join us now for this week's edition of Austin Faith Dialogue. Teenagers in the 1990s face an obstacle course called life. They deal with issues and questions that previous generations could never have even imagined. And it begins to take its toll on young people, and we have such issues as teenage pregnancy, gangs and gang violence. And through drug abuse of cocaine is starting to come down, LSD usage is up in high schools nationwide. Today we'll ask some questions of a group of local experts on the front lines of the so-called battle. Joining us to discuss the issues are 4 students from LBJ High School. Here in Austin, they're situated. This is Erica Chan, Jennifer Coleman, James Houston, and Kevin Johnson. We welcome you all. And I would like to just ask for a moment, before we get into some of these issues, to have you tell us a little bit about, we know that you're a junior and 3 seniors, but beyond that, tell us a little bit about what you do in school. I think I'm going to start with what I know is El Presidente, James.
Well, basically what I do at LBJ High School is to try to go about and have activities for the student body there at LBJ High School. We have done various activities and have had these several events at LBJ so that we can promote unity within the school. Some of the things that we have done, we've had a drug-free week, a teen conference, and other social events for the student body. And I think that our year this year for the 91 through 92 year has been successful, and I think that it will also be successful for the 92 to 93 year also.
So, as student council president, Kevin, you're into programs that highlight some of the issues that we'll be talking about here today.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. Erica, you're also in student government?
Yes, I am. I'm the treasurer of the Student Senate, and basically we just helped Kevin, and this has been a really great year for the Student Senate. They've been very active, and we're hoping to have possibly another teen conference in the spring and some other issues that we'll talk about today.
You told me before the program that you were in Project Crossroads.
Yes, it was a leadership program for 60 juniors selected throughout the Austin high schools, and it was a really great program put on by St. Edward's University. Mm-hmm. And it was a good leadership camp. Okay.
I think that James will come to you. I think you're the junior in our midst. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And are you involved in some activities there at LBJ?
I'm in Student Senate. I'm a representative for the junior class. I'm also president of my junior class. Mm-hmm. I'm in some other clubs like TAME at school. And
what does that mean?
Texas Alliance for Minority Engineering.
Okay.
I'm in that, some other clubs, but I play sports mainly.
I see. What sports are those?
Football, or wrestle, track.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Well, we're pleased for your multi-talents that you bring to us here today. Jennifer,
yes,
you're a senior?
Yes, sir.
And tell us a little bit about what your plans are.
Well, I'm a representative in the Student Senate, and I'm in Mu Alpha Theta and Pre-Med Club, and I haven't been at LBJ for very long, but the Student Senate's the best one I've seen. I was also active at Westwood, the other school that I was at before LBJ, but the things that they're doing for as far as awareness of drugs and the gangs and the things like that, and the teen conference that they had, I haven't seen before.
I see. So a little more socially aware,
right,
where you are now. Well, let's be aware in terms of some of the facts and figures that have been brought to us. I think we have to show on the monitor some of the issues that pertain initially to AIDS in young adults. In 1989, 750 deaths. 1990, 970 deaths. This is just locally. We can see that it's going up at a rate that we'd almost say is geometrical. And I think that the other issue that's related to that is teen pregnancy. And this is something which I was just amazed. I can't remember where I first heard it, but that Austin and Travis County are the tops, not only in the state, but in the nation. And is this an issue that is part of your conversation and your experience at LBJ as far as the, let's just say, the teen pregnancy part of it?
I believe that the teen pregnancy at the LBJ is very high, simply because you see a lot of young ladies at LBJ that are pregnant or their bellies are sticking out. Yeah. And I think that the basic problem behind all of this is probably broken up homes, simply because there's not a father figure to be there and a mother figure. And if there is a father or mother figure there, the child probably has been abused. And because of being abused, the child goes ahead and wants to have a baby simply because they feel that if they have a child, that they will be able to love this child and this child will be there for them, that the child will love them back.
Now, is this based on your conversation with young people who are pregnant, or is this just kind of your own theory about that?
It's more or less a combination from hearing from young ladies and also, as you said, my theory, and also just from attending seminars and other workshops that I have attended. The speakers, they tell us and they told me that this is probably the problem, that the teenagers, they want to have someone to love them. Since their parents neglect them, they feel that this baby will probably love them and they can share love with one another.
Okay. You're going to add to that, Erica.
I think it's also a cycle of poverty. It's a repeating pattern because the teenagers right now who are pregnant, it's more likely that their mothers also had them at a younger age. So it's going through a cycle, and unless the teenagers themselves break the cycle, then it's more likely to happen again with their own children.
Yeah, as you mentioned that, I think that in the Bible there's a statement that says that the sour grapes which the parents have eaten have set the children's teeth on edge. The idea of, you know, from one generation to the next, this carries over. And that, how do you break that cycle, though? That's the real issue. I mean, I think we're all clear about it. Kind of carries over from one generation to the next. But do any of you have any thoughts about?
Parents definitely have to play an important role in it. And if they don't, then their kids are going to suffer. And you've seen it.
Parents playing a role to break the cycle.
Yes, sir.
To say, in effect, just because it happened to me, it's not going to happen to my kids.
Well, I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying that the parents play an important role in the kid's life, and they have to
love them and support them.
And they just have to watch them, because I guarantee if your parents love you and they tell you right from wrong, then there's a higher chance of the kid not doing something that would hurt you.
Okay, never getting the vicious cycle started in the first place.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I think it's also showing them what's in the future. I think a lot of these girls, they look at everything in short term, and they don't realize the long-term effects of what's going to happen. You know, what's going to happen to them if they have a child at this age. That, you know, the destruction of their education and the chances of them failing because of this happening to them at such a young age.
Well, you know, I think it's clear, maybe as we're sitting here looking at the consequences, that, you know, this is just going to ruin their future if they're not looking ahead. And yet I think going back to Kevin, to what you said, there's a tendency to think about just kind of getting through the day, sort of thing.
Yes, sir.
And I would imagine this would apply to drug abuse as well as to other social problems. That it seems like a solution rather than a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And let's take a look at another issue here. See if we can apply it to that as well. I think there are statistics that show that in terms of the gang violence in town, there is an increase in that. There was a video that was done that I think we can drop in here just to kind of give a point to that.
They were just across the street, but normally this happens to gangs. One will stay on one side and the other side. This is the first time they've actually confronted each other.
The confrontation occurred right when hundreds of people were out on downtown Austin streets on their way home from work. Witnesses like this man, who helped rescue one of the victims, an apparent innocent bystander, said the shots came after two groups of teenage boys started arguing.
And then the next thing I know, I heard about 4 or 5 shots. So I dived down in my truck, and when I looked up, the last shot, I saw it hit the girl in the face, and I opened the door and told her to get in, and then I carried her inside the store.
There is like a copper-colored bullet, but it's flattened, like as if it, hit the wall. Where it's right there where he's standing.
Police recovered at least one bullet within a block from the scene, and later recovered a small-caliber handgun believed to be the one used in the shooting. Injured in the shooting was a 16-year-old girl who was shot in the face, a 16-year-old boy shot in the back, and 61-year-old Tony Flores, who, according to one witness, tried to intervene in the shooting and ended up getting shot in the arm. The shooting comes only weeks after police released statistics that gang violence in Austin had decreased.
You hate to see anything like this break out, but I don't think any number of programs can prevent individual incidents. Certainly, we'll be not only investigating this case, but analyzing this case to try to determine what led to this shooting here.
Police say as many as 8 or 9 teenage boys may have been involved in the fracas. Tonight, police are interviewing witnesses and don't expect any charges to be filed until tomorrow at the earliest. David Swafford, Channel 7 News, 10 o'clock report.
As we look at that, I think we're witnessing what was maybe the turning point in Austin's history as far as public awareness of gang violence, that it had been going on, but it had largely been like in various neighborhoods. But this was downtown on Congress, and all of a sudden people became aware and concerned, and a special task force was set up by the mayor and so on. I would like to have you all just give us a view from, where you are in school and where you live and how you feel about whether it's really as serious as people seem to think it is, whether there are things being done about it. Erica?
I think it depends where you live in the city, because a lot of it plays socioeconomic. That's a key factor in seeing whether or not there's a predominance of gang violence or not. For instance, if you were to live in East Austin, I'm sure you would see a lot more than if you lived in Northwest Hills. And the occurrence of, at the yogurt shop, the killing of those 4 teenagers, that brought out a lot of awareness, because people thought that just because we lived in North Austin, then, it's safe and everything, but that really made people aware.
Could happen anywhere.
Right, it can happen anywhere.
Okay. Any other thoughts about where we are in relation to this problem?
I feel that gang violence in Austin, although the police say and that the department says that it's decreasing, I think that as long as there are rap stars or anything of that nature, or artists that are entertaining the actual, if you become a gang member, that you're cool and all of this thing, I think that if that continues to be portrayed over the TV stations, then the gang will continue to rise across the state, and it will eventually begin back to rise in Austin, Texas. I believe that at LBJ we don't have that problem of gangs, simply because everyone there, we have a well-balanced mix of students that are there. But I believe that if we were at another school where it's unbalanced as far as the races are concerned, I believe the one gang would try to form and try to dominate. But since we have an equal balance at LBJ, it's not really so much of a problem. And as Erica said, the social or economical concern is also a very vital part as far as gangs are concerned, and that the yoga shop is a definite form that gangs not only in East Austin, they're in South Austin, North Austin, also West Austin.
I think that's the other thing that's happened in the recent incidents in our city is that suddenly people had the sense that it could happen anywhere, and the fact that these people who perpetrated that crime are still going free, I mean, it's created a state of anxiety and concern that I think is new for us. Just to continue with any thoughts that you folks have about that.
I think that as far as gangs go, it seems to me that like the teen pregnancy, it's a kind of, it's something that gives them some kind of security where they want the camaraderie and they want the friendship, and if that's the only way that they can get it, I mean, and they're so desperate for it that they're willing to take other people's lives to get it. And I know in San Antonio, I was there this summer and saw that they started a program where they have, like at a rec center, they have a big screen TV and a swimming pool, and they bring all the kids from these bad areas that are vulnerable to get into these gangs. They take them and they all come together and they stay there and they watch movies and things like that. And I think it's a step towards getting them out of the gangs. You know, I don't know if we have anything like that here in Austin, but it looked like a good idea.
Alternative activities.
Right.
Prevention programs are a very good idea. The first step.
As far as solutions are concerned, I believe that a mentorship program that there is at LBJ called Project Man. It's basically for
Project Man?
Project Man.
Okay.
Man stands for Men Acting Now. I believe that is a very good and vital program, and it's specified in this, mainly aimed at African American males who are at LBJ High School. And I don't think that these individuals are at risk, but they're just the men that are the mentors. They're more or less the role models. And I think that if we have more programs like this, and then the increase of gang violence and gang numbers will decrease, simply because they will have role models to look at of their own race. And I don't look at that as racism. I just think of it as a type of role model, because once you see a person of your race doing good, and you will come to the conclusion that you also can do a very good job and be a successful person also.
And go ahead.
Again, I think this rotates all back to the parents and the family. If the parents would take more initiative to get in their child's life, know what that child is doing, like their grades, and things like this wouldn't happen. I mean, you would need a project, man. I mean, those are good things to have, but if the parents got into the kids' lives, know what they were doing, then you would need things like this. I mean, they're helpful, but still, if the parents got into the kid's life, know what the kid was doing, see what kind of grades they're making, what the kid needs, I mean, then we wouldn't have these problems.
I have one other thought that flows out of that, and I guess, Jennifer, you were suggesting it earlier, that if you look at it from the standpoint of why kids get into gangs, and if they don't have the parents at home or caring, they find their family with these other group of peers. And it's like parallel to what you said earlier, Kevin, about young women who get pregnant, is it becomes an answer to a problem for them. And so the alternatives that can be offered that would, under the Project Man, makes me think of the Urban League has got a program now that is with young men and older men in the business community and so on, who will mentor them.
Yes, sir.
And anything that we can do along that line is good. And I hope that, you know, our discussion today can help us just kind of get a consciousness of a direction to go, because we don't want to just say how bad the problem is, but here are some things that can be done.
Yes.
We have another issue that is a big one and that we want to touch on at least before our program is done. This has to do with a fact that the University of Michigan study found that 33% of all high school seniors said that they'd taken at least one illicit drug during the past year. So I think that as we consider that, is that, you know, a third of the students having at least tried it? Is this kind of square with your perception of how serious the problem is?
Those are the ones that admit it. I think it's much more prevalent than even the statistics could tell us. People that you wouldn't suspect, that you'd never suspect, have done drugs for various reasons.
So you think it's even more of a problem than that suggests?
I think it is.
Okay. And is this, I'd heard some statistics, though, that in some ways it's getting better. In fact, earlier there was a quote in terms of cocaine usage is going down, but LSD is going up, and I'm not sure how much it matters which is in vogue at the time, but the fact that it's still all having the same destructive effect, I mean, it's ruining people's lives.
Yes, sir.
And so are there like drug prevention programs that are going on at LBJ that you're aware of?
I don't know of any drug prevention because it's hard to identify who's doing drugs because people won't normally admit it because then they face like expulsion or suspension. But I think prevention and awareness is much better. Like we have an LBJ Drug Week, we've had one before, and coming up this semester we're going to have some other event that will deal with drugs and awareness.
Is this what you were mentioning earlier, Kevin, the Drug Week?
Yeah, the Drug Week, but also not trying to counter Erica, but we do have some type of drug program, and the name of it is called Pride, and it's a drug-free program that is sponsored by ASD District. And what they basically do, I don't think they have specified individuals who are using drugs, but some of the individuals that are in there, I believe that they are using drugs or that they are selling drugs, and the other individuals that are in there, I believe that they're just more or less in there for being role models for the individuals and showing them that you don't have to turn to this route as far as selling drugs or using alcohol, that you can be drug-free and alcohol-free. And that's a program that they have, and I believe that the ASD has those type of services and organizations and clubs at other ASD schools, but I know that they have it at LBJ simply because I'm one of the individuals. I'm not a drug user, but I'm in the program.
I see. So it's not just at LBJ, but other schools in the district?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You're a pre-med major.
Well, I'm in the pre-med club.
Or pre-med club, with the idea maybe of
Right.
being in the health field. And
Right.
I've wondered if you know, your call to maybe go into that line of work is with the thought of not just taking care of people's surgeries or so on, but being part of a preventative, you know, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure sort of thing in regard to problems like drug usage.
Yes, sir.
Do you have a sense of call about that, or?
Well, I plan to go into obstetrics, but I want to work in low-income neighborhoods and like in a lot of projects and help women, you know, younger women who are pregnant get off of drugs and get them good prenatal care and let them understand that the dangers of taking drugs while they're pregnant and after their children are born.
Where did you get that sense of mission to do that kind of work? How do you account for that? Your church background have something to do with that?
A little bit. I think it's just from seeing it at school. Not at LBJ. I think it's more covert at LBJ. But I was at Westwood for 3 years, and from the statistics I've heard, they have the 3rd highest drug rate in the nation. They call it Wastewood, which sounds funny, but it's really not. You know, this is the, you know, upper income and kids that you think have it all together, but they don't.
I mean, the drug usage cuts across class lines,
Right.
racial lines.
Right. It's not just socioeconomic, you know, like gangs and the teen pregnancy. It's all over.
I gotcha. That's interesting insight. I think we want to take one look at one last issue here in terms of the overall educational dilemma that the average graduation rate nationally is 71.4. In Texas, it's 64.2. We're 45th in high school graduation. Now, you all in LBJ have, I would suspect, maybe a higher graduation than that because you've got this science academy. I mean, people who come there are volunteering to come there, and they're on a higher academic track in a sense. I don't know if you happen to have the statistics at hand, but would that be a difference that you might expect at LBJ?
Yes, I believe that it is a difference simply because LBJ, we have the lowest dropout rate as far as all AISD schools are concerned. I believe this is the second year for LBJ High School. And I believe that not only does it have to do with the Science Academy, but also with the teachers that we have and administrators at LBJ. I believe they play an important role as far as playing their role as teachers, not only to teach you, but to make sure that you do graduate from high school.
I think one of the reasons why the dropout rate may be so high among the nation is because teaching has no longer been portrayed as like a lucrative field. It's like if you have nothing else to do, go into teaching. So there you have some people who are not there to want to teach. They just are there because they can't do anything else. And also their income is very low. So that takes people away from the field. And teachers do play, I think, the most important role in determining somebody's education.
James, if we paid teachers as much as we pay pro football players, do you think our educational system would improve?
Yes, sir. But you can't really blame it all on teachers. I mean, students have to take a lot of initiative on their own to make A's, to be the best they can. I mean, of course, teachers are going to play an important role because you have to have somebody teach you. But students, they have to take the initiative to want to be the best, make A's.
Yeah.
So
it's a two-way street.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You want to add to this, Jennifer, in terms of?
Well, as far as what Erica was saying, I agree with James that you can't really blame it on the teachers, and I think that because the income is so low for teachers, that they go into it because they really care, not because they don't have anything better to do. I'm sure in some cases that's true, but I've seen some really great teachers who just, as much as they try, some of these kids are just almost beyond reach. And I think, you know, as important as teachers are, this is also home and family and who they hang around and their peers and what kind of messages they're getting.
I think that that's a good note to end on, is that the people who are in the teaching profession, I think the assumption we have to make is they're certainly not in it for the money.
Right.
They're in it because they care. And as we support that, and we go beyond just saying that we're the education president or the education society, or, you know, give lip service to that, we want to say we are going to make a difference in terms of our own support of the whole educational program. I'd like to give you all our word of thanks for supporting us in this youth feedback today.
Thank you.
Jennifer,
Thank you.
James, Erica, Kevin.
Thank you.
Hope to see you again.
I look forward
And
to
hope to see you folks again on our next edition of Austin Faith Dialogue. I'm Richard Thompson, thanking you for watching. And peace be with you.